we are going to discuss about formal charge, right? With the help of one formula, we can easily calculate the formal charge, right? Formula is, first we have to calculate the number of valency electrons minus number of lone pair of electrons minus number of bonds, right? Take for example O3 molecule, right? So first we want to write the Lewis dot structure for this molecule, right? So this is the Lewis dot structure of the O3 molecules, right? So first I will calculate the formal charge for oxygen 1, for this oxygen, right? So first we have to calculate the number of valency electrons, right? So oxygen valence electrons are 6 minus number of lone pairs of electrons, right? Observe here we have 6 lone pair of electrons, right? So I will write 6 again minus number of bonds, right? So number of bonds are only 1, right? I will write as 1. Therefore 6 minus 6 minus 1 is equals to minus 1. Therefore formal charge of oxygen 1 is equals to minus 1, right? Similarly formal charge for oxygen 2, right? For this oxygen, first we have to calculate the number of valence electrons of oxygen, that is 6 minus number of lone pairs of electrons. In this oxygen atom we have only 2 lone pairs of electrons, therefore 2 minus number of bonds, right? So oxygen is having 3 bonds, 1 2 and 3, therefore 3. Therefore 6 minus 2 minus 3 is equals to 1. Therefore formal charge of oxygen 2 is equals to plus 1, right? Next one, formal charge for oxygen 3, that is equals to, for this oxygen valence electrons are same, that is 6 minus number of lone pairs of electrons, right? That is 1 2 3 4. 4 minus number of bonds, how many? 2. Therefore 6 minus 4 minus 2 is equals to 0. Therefore formal charge of this oxygen is equals to 0. This is how we can calculate the formal charge with the help of some trick, that is number of valence electrons minus number of lone pairs of electrons minus number of bonds. Take another example, SO2, right? So first we have to write the Lewis dot structure. This is the Lewis dot structure of SO2 molecules, right? So I will calculate the formal charge for sulfur. I will calculate the formal charge of this sulfur, that is equals to number of valency electrons, how many? For sulfur valence electrons are 6 minus, then number of lone pairs of electrons on sulfur, how many? No lone pairs of electrons, right? Therefore I will write as 0 minus number of bonds, how much? 1 2 3 4, I will write 4. Therefore 6 minus 4 is equals to 2. Therefore formal charge of sulfur is equals to 2, right? Similarly for formal charge of oxygen is equals to, right? Both the oxygens are same, so if you want to, if I calculate for one oxygen, that will be same for another oxygen. I will write first one, number of valence electrons are 6 minus number of lone pairs of electrons on oxygen, that is 1 2 3 4. 4 minus number of bonds for this oxygen atom 2. Therefore formal charge of oxygen is equals to 6 minus 4 minus 2 is equals to 0. This is how we can calculate the formal charge. Next example is CO3 2 minus. This is a Lewis dot structure of CO3 2 minus, right? I will calculate the formal charge for oxygen 1, that is this one, right? First we have to write out the number of valence electrons of oxygen is 6 minus number of lone pairs of oxygen is 1 2 3 4 5 6 minus number of bonds are 1. Therefore formal charge is equals to 6 minus 6 minus 1 is equals to minus 1. Therefore next one, formal charge for oxygen 2, that is for this one. Then number of valence electrons for oxygen is equals to 6 minus number of lone pairs, how much? 4. 1 2 3 4 minus number of bond pairs, how much? 2. 1 and 2. therefore formal charge is equals to 0, right? Similarly, for formal charge for carbon is equals to valence electrons of carbon, how much? 4, minus number of lone pairs of carbon, how many? No lone pairs, right? Therefore 0 minus number of bonds, that is 1 2 3 4, therefore formal charge of carbon is equals to 0. Similarly, take another example, N2. This is the Lewis-Dot structure for N2 molecules. Therefore, formal charge of nitrogen is equals to valence electrons of nitrogen, how much? 5, minus number of lone pairs of electrons on one nitrogen is equals to 2, minus number of bonds, how many? 1 2 3. Therefore 5 minus 5, which is equals to 0. Therefore formal charge of nitrogen is equals to 0. Take another example, that is HSO4 minus. This is a Lewis structure of the HSO4 minus, right? First I will calculate formal charge of oxygen 1, right? I will take oxygen 1 as this oxygen, therefore number of valence electrons of oxygen is 6, minus number of lone pairs on this oxygen, how much? 1 2 3 4, therefore 4. Next, number of bonds of this oxygen is equals to 1 and 2, therefore formal charge of oxygen 1 is equals to 6 minus 6, that is equals to 0. Therefore formal charge of this oxygen is equals to 0. Similarly, I will go with second oxygen, that is this oxygen. Next, formal charge of oxygen 2 is equals to valence electrons of oxygen, how much? 6, minus number of lone pairs, how many? 6, right? 6, I will write as it is, then minus number of bonds, how much? That is 1. Therefore 6 minus 6 minus 1 is equals to minus 1. Therefore formal oxygen of this oxygen and this oxygen is minus 1, right? Similarly, formal charge of sulfur is equals to, what is the valence electrons of sulfur? 6, minus number of lone pairs on the sulfur, how much? 0, minus number of bonds, 1 2 3 4. Therefore 6 minus 4 is equals to 2. Similarly, calculate the formal charge of chlorine and oxygen in this complex and mention the answer in comment section. Thank you.